What's up, guys? You're listening to Let's Party Prayer Punk Rock, dude. Alright, later. There we go, huh?
Vibin'.
How does that feel?
It feels good. That's a new song.
Yes. The Hip Abduction.
Yeah.
That's what they're called, and they feature Trevor Hall, who we are going to be seeing, and also Johnny Cosmic. We're going to be seeing...
Trevor Hall.
Yep, in April.
Yay.
And yeah, they did that song, Pacific Coast Highway, a little reggae mix there.
Oh, it's such a good vibe.
What does that make you think of? When you hear that, and the song's called Pacific Coast Highway, and...
I mean, I think of driving down the Pacific Coast Highway and seeing, like, the water and the surfers and the sunset and the boats and the life.
Yeah.
And the breeze and the smell of sea air and goodness.
They have, like, lyrics in here, like, maybe under the redwoods they play, or along the Humboldt shore, I want to find that place. I left my soul on Pacific Coast Highway.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, left the lights of L.A. Yeah, oh, yeah, that drive is just, you know, like, I tried to, like, before I moved here, I tried to drive from Imperial Beach, which is, like, pretty much the border of San Diego, and go, but there's really not much, it really just kind of goes with the 5. But then, you know, and like went into, I think it was like Camp Pendleton or whatever area, and tried to work my way all the way up there through LA and got like north of LA and just said, oh, dude, F it, I'm going to Amoeba Music. I ended up at, you know, one at Sunset right there. Yeah. You know, I just was like, forget it, dude.
How long
just
did it take you to get from that to
Oh, man,
that?
I started that at probably about...
Now, Amoeba Music is inland. It's not on the ocean. So how long did it take you to get from, like...
I started
Imperial
that. Oh, yeah.
To like the ocean part, not Amoeba Music part.
Well, I decided to drive from Long Beach down there first.
Oh, geez.
So I left at like probably 6:30 in the morning, and it was like a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
So I drove down there all the way down to Imperial. I mean, it took me like 2 hours. To get and then drove
down.
back up, and I got back up into LA to Amoeba Music at probably, I think it was about 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Man.
And honestly, like, I did most of the driving all the way up there. You know, had to get gas and went to the bathroom, but, like, Amoeba Music, that's where I, like, stretch my legs. It's
so you, like,
2 stories, people, of just music, whether it's vinyl or cassette tape, even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do they still have it? Is it, like,
yeah,
there?
it should.
Oh,
I believe it's still there. I mean,
so.
Honestly, I didn't hear it.
I mean, every time I go back to California, it's so much change has happened.
Yeah, I know. Something's closing down, something big or iconic.
Something new,
or,
yeah.
Or there's like snow on the Hollywood sign, apparently, is what's been going on with the weather out there. That'd have been interesting to see what Pacific Coast Highway looked with all of that.
Yeah.
You know? Oh,
no
man.
kidding.
Saw some of those pictures, and that looked pretty crazy.
Yeah. It never has snowed when I lived there, but it has happened before, right?
Oh yeah,
it has.
Oh yeah, it snowed in Santa Monica before.
Like in the
like
90s or
beach.
Something, right?
It was like early 2000s. Yeah, maybe late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, I wasn't in California yet.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and there
honestly,
was a tornado.
I hadn't seen an ocean until I was 18 years old. 17 years old. 17.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy? And you grew up there, but it's still my happy place.
What about, like Pacific Coast?
Yeah, I hadn't gone to the Atlantic coast either, even though I lived in Maryland.
Yeah, I was just say, weren't you
Never did I go.
How far away from the coast were you, where you lived?
I don't know. I was too little. I didn't drive or
What
anything.
city was it? Or what was it, like, close to?
Like Fredericksburg, you could get there. Does that sound familiar?
I have no idea where that is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like saying, do you know where Delaware is? Yeah. Is Delaware relevant? I'm sorry, our fans in Delaware.
Of course it is.
Sure you are.
I wonder if we do have fans in Delaware. That would be cool.
That'd be interesting. Hashtag Delaware.
Yeah, so... Yeah, but it's still my happy place. You know, I lived there for so long, and I have, you know, I don't know. It just feels so good to be on the Pacific Coast. Yeah. And I like being on the beach, you know, just get out of your car and get out and go be by and near the water.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You grew up like that. Like, I feel like I would be a different person if I had grown up that way. I don't know. You just like have always been like in the water, constantly being able to wash and cleanse and your spirit and your soul.
There all the
time.
So
therapeutic.
Sometimes it was bad though because I like skip first and second period.
So you could be in the ocean.
Yeah,
you called you like Moana.
Yeah, a little bit. That and smoking weed did it too.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Math, huh? No.
What? No, I finished that junior year. I made sure my senior year I was done with all the math.
All that stuff.
I was like, I needed 3 years. I made sure it was only 3.
Yep.
4 years of English. So my 4th year was like film analysis because I was considered
cool.
And that was awesome. We watched like old movies and then just hey, what'd you think?
About it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's like your.
That's when I was writing
class.
like 10-page term papers. Oh
Heck yeah. That's so funny.
Oh, I love that.
Drew has a movie script that one day I would like to help come to life.
I do. Well, I mean, it's my story.
I mean, it's
like
ongoing.
To see
it's always going to change a little bit. I mean, you wrote it 25 years ago or something. So,
About Long Beach.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Coast
Highway.
It's kind of like it's kind of like one of the movies. Okay, segue. It's kind of like one of the movies we just watched, Clerks, where it's it's like a day in the life of. But I'd worked in Outplaying Video on 2nd Street, and it was the last day it was closing, and what are you going to do with your life? Blah blah blah.
End of the day in the life of, and Clerks is the day in the life of, and we just recently
You'd
saw.
never seen. Well, you'd seen the first one.
I had seen it, but it had been
a long time
that
and we both never seen the third one. Because that just came out, it actually just came out, I think.
I mean, Silent Bob is like iconic, so of course I knew him and his character and remembered that.
Silent Bob.
But I forget that, like, he's, he actually talks at the end and it says,
it's always something symbolic
things.
And profound, exactly,
But it is funny and it is relatable in a lot of ways.
Well, what was fun too is that, like, okay, you haven't seen the second one?
I haven't. Mm-mm.
The second one was kind of, I mean, it's, the first one was iconic for what it was worth. You know what I mean? It was a low-budget film, black and white. Like they talk about.
They make fun of that in the third one.
Yeah, it was kind of.
You should really make this black and white.
It really, I think it was watching the movie now because I hadn't seen the first one in forever either.
Long, yeah.
So we watched the third one, which we hadn't seen, and it's about one of the characters from the first one. His name's Randall. The two characters that worked at Clerks, one worked at the liquor store, and one worked at the Jason video store right next door. And Randall and what was the guy's name? Oh, what was his name?
I don't know. That's your job.
I know. Seriously, now I'm drawing a blank. Dante worked at the convenience store, and Randall ran the video store, and he's like a wisecrack and whatever. He has a heart attack and realizes he needs more in his life, so he decides to write a movie or make a movie about his life, and that essentially is he's going to make Clerks. So they decide to do it. He's going to do it, based on all of his experiences, and they essentially are making the first Clerks, And so it was kind of interesting to watch
Old
because
characters come back.
Yeah, they had a lot of like the original girlfriend Veronica came back for it, and it was just like what they actually like pulled all these people out. That was kind of interesting,
And so it was weird because I saw the last one first and saw the first one last, and so they used a lot in the last one. They used a lot of referring to the first movie. So I saw it like backwards. You know?
But it
still worked.
Exactly. It was pretty awesome to watch it that way because we're watching the first one when he's laying on the counter talking about his life, and it's like, oh yeah, that's when he has the heart attack. Whatever.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to like look at it in a different perspective.
Yeah.
And it was decent. I mean, Clerks 3 to me was all right. Clerks is always the best. Clerks 3
some weird stuff in there with like the Jesus lover who became like a Satanist. Like that was like
going back
really
and forth
extreme and weird.
It just kind of like it was like
but
some of the supporting characters weren't as like strong as you would have hoped them to be.
is terrible. But
it's always kind of interesting with the cameos. They're looking for actors to play them before they decide to play themselves, of course.
Yeah.
But they have like Ben Affleck coming in to do an acting part, and like man, they had a lot of people.
Yeah, they had.
It was kind of funny. I can't remember some of the girls that came in, like Kristen Bell or somebody came in, and Sarah Michelle Gellar. Didn't she come in? And Freddie Prinze Jr. came in on as well, her husband or something. Like all these random people. And it kind of lightened up the mood. But then they'd have some of the people that were actual, like the girl that's in Kids in the Hall, and she was like the secretary in Elf. I can't remember her name, but she was like the doctor. And she was supposed to be pretty funny, and the lines seemed funny, but it was like her delivery didn't work.
Yeah.
You know? But that's kind of like a Kevin Smith film. His movies, like he's almost like a visionary like George Lucas. George Lucas is great at writing, and he's a visionary. He can totally see all the way it should go. But then his love scenes, he can see it, but he can't write it. Yeah. Where Kevin Smith can write it, but not really see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of, and it falls flat.
Maybe they should do a movie together.
Hell, they reference Star Wars throughout the entire damn movie.
Right.
You know, and that's a great sequence, too, talking about the, the laborers involved, and, they were, unsuspecting victims of the Death Star. All those little intricate conversations they get so in-depth about, and you're like, it's like totally meaningless topic that they turn into like this nightly news thing or something, It was interesting.
They should have had a podcast.
I know.
Oh.
It was weird seeing, was it Jay, though? I don't know, he had like,
he had
false
veneers.
teeth or something. Yeah, because it was just
I felt like when he was talking, they were going to fall out.
Yeah. I know at certain points, like, we're not going to fall out.
Oh, yeah.
But, I know his character.
I don't know.
Or himself, Jason Mewes.
They're in their 50s. They're 54, both of them.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Oh, were they both? They both are. Yeah, I know that they, are best friends or whatever.
For real?
But I know, but Jason Mewes, the guy that plays Jay, I know he had, a lot of issues with drugs. I think he nearly died on, heroin.
You can tell, man.
Oh, yeah, you can tell, for sure.
But, that's life. Wear your experience.
Yep.
Please don't puff up your face like Madonna.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting show that we go to.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if she's wearing an extra large or not.
It's like I have wrinkles as I age, and I'm not going to do Botox because, first of all, it's expensive and you have to keep doing it. But plus, I earned that shit, man.
Right.
I am here. I have arrived.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not trying. I don't know. I'm just going to let it flow.
That grass is greener on the other side feeling, you know what I mean? People think that they can change it or something. And
puff up your face and do all this stuff, and you don't know the long-term effects
of
it.
That's the problem.
What is that
almost
doing to
anyone.
Your brain?
Yeah.
Oh, boy, and so close
It just never looks right, you know what I mean? And it's always, it's like a drug, it seems like. Just a little bit. Well, a little bit more.
Know.
Oh, it's kind of coming down. Let's do it, and then it turns into, you look like an inflatable balloon.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, that was total tangent. Completely off topic.
Sure it was.
Sorry about that.
But that's fine. Anyway, back to the movies. No, we did see, what did we go see in the theaters? One of them we saw was Ant-Man.
The
new Ant-Man. And that was pretty good, people.
It was good.
It's getting mixed reviews. Some people blah this, that, or the other. Honestly,
I like the relationship of the family and the wife.
Yeah, they sort of expanded the characters and their story a little bit more.
Connection with the daughter.
Yeah, the first one was Ant-Man. The second one was kind of a little bit more expanded on the Wasp, the girl that would become, his girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
She becomes a Wasp and everything. And this one showed more of, Michelle Pfeiffer's background and, the mom's character or whatever. And then, fleshed out their family a little bit more. A lot of visuals, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it moves fast.
It did. It was entertaining. It's a start of what they call, now I'm going to nerd out here. It's a start of Phase 5, people, in the Marvel Universe.
That's cool.
But it is. It's a start, the Black Panther, Wakanda Forever sort of ended their Phase 4, which started with WandaVision. Now it ended with Wakanda. And now the start of Phase 5 is now Ant-Man, and then it's going to bring in all of those shows that they had on Disney Plus.
Oh, the shows on Disney Plus?
Like Miss Marvel, she'll be in the Captain Marvel movie, or some of the Loki's character. It's
he's
weird.
Come back, right?
Well, the second season is now. People, if you've not seen, whatever. I kind of keep up on some of this stuff here. It's for the podcast. I swear.
This is his. When I pass out at night, he goes to this. And so I haven't watched it, but
we should seriously watch.
Yeah,
it is really good.
But we can watch it with
the little
kids.
Story arc actually in the Loki series, and of all of the Marvel little Disney series they have, this is one of the best. It really is a good series.
Yeah.
But the Kang, who's going to be the new Thanos of this Phase 5, he's introduced in Loki at the end, and it kind of explains what happens at the end of Ant-Man a little bit.
Oh,
they try and connect them all a little bit because, obviously they want you to watch everything. So let's connect them all. So even though Miss Marvel, honestly, Miss Marvel to me was weak. That was a weak show to me. All it was is just a big introduction for her to be in the Captain Marvel movie. And know that she has like jelly shoes or whatever it is that she has. I don't know. It's weird.
She has jelly shoes.
She's like a teenager and it's this weird, it's like she has sort of this thing through, because she's like Indian, I think. So it's like through God or whatever, like how they all are. But it's like this weird, when she falls, she can use this and it creates this jelly thing that fall, she can, or run with and
bounce off.
Yeah, jump from one building and have this jelly thing be like a
slime
a step in the middle of the air and she can jump off of that. Yeah, it's weird.
And it's a lot of relationship.
Yeah.
Like Beverly Hills 90210 goes Captain.
Oh man, that one, Miss Marvel, yes.
Miss Marvel,
it felt
or
like
whatever.
a Beverly Hills 90210 Marvel series.
Which I'm bound to have missed because that's the type of stuff I like.
Yeah, you probably would like
You're
that.
watching the girly stuff while I'm asleep. That's kind of weird.
I'm sorry.
But you didn't know it was girly, so I gave
wasn't like Friends, I'm like, no, it's a Marvel show. I'm like watching Steel Magnolias or something.
Oh my god.
You're watching Pretty Woman without me?
We have to watch that.
But Ant-Man was good. It is a good movie.
Yeah, it was good. I love
kids enjoyed it. They thought it was great. Yeah, Paul Rudd's always good.
Is always good.
He's always pretty good. And
He's
Michael Douglas, I thought he had a few key moments in the movie where his character kind of got to show some light, or whatever,
Yeah.
It was pretty. And the
Don't
bad
give
guy
too
was
much
okay.
away.
No, I won't give too much away. But Kang seems okay, but we'll just have to see, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was all right.
To be talked about in a later podcast.
And then we watched the one that Kat hadn't seen before, and it's done by Taylor Sheridan, who does the Yellowstone series and Sicario and some of these other ones.
Yeah,
and
that was good.
Wind River.
Yeah, that was really good.
It was good, huh?
It keeps you on your toes. You want to watch it. It keeps you interested.
Yeah.
It definitely.
It's good mystery, and it's got the girl from Yellowstone in it.
Which was cool, that I like that he kind of recycled her and the dad. Not the dad, but he plays the dad, but he's in Yellowstone, he's the chief.
Yeah, he's a casino head.
So there was familiarity to the movie, Although she's in a bedroom scene again. He always puts her in the bedroom scene.
Yeah, I know. She's always in her underwear at some
point. But anyway.
Yeah, there's a rape sequence that starts to happen. It doesn't finish,
tough.
but
we had to fast forward
and it's
through that. But what I was going to say was just seeing her kiss this other man, the actress kissing the other man who's supposed to be her boyfriend in the show. But I'm like, but you're cheating on Yellowstone.
You're cheating on Casey.
Casey. I was having feels. I was like, this is so funny.
Wait, this isn't right. It's like all you've ever seen her in. Really.
Yeah, right. It's the only thing I've ever seen her in. So, yes. But it was good. It was really, really good. It kept you on your toes. You're really interested.
And Taylor Sheridan always does that. He brings a lot of that element to it. I kind of wish they had,
kissed in the movie at the end. I just want but you end up thinking that they get together. The
FBI agent and the tracker.
Yeah, so
with Jeremy Renner and what's her name? Elizabeth Olsen, who are Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch in the Marvel movies. So it was like, they're working together again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they had good chemistry, and you could tell at the end of the movie they were totally gonna get married. But I'm the girl who wants to
you want everyone to get married and see the kiss.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I like that happy ending stuff. But yeah, it was a good ending.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I like how he really fleshes out the environment too, because it's a set on an Indian reservation, and because it's like a girl that's murdered on an Indian reservation and all the stuff that goes with it.
Involved.
But they really, you get to know sort of customs of their culture and what happens in Wyoming, because it's set in Wyoming.
Yeah.
And talking about it's freezing and they're like, this is summer, and it's like, man, does it really get crazy like that up in Wyoming,
But also beautifully
showing you the elements.
He always has that sun over the mountain,
the
over
landscape,
the snow, and you just want to take a picture of the screen.
He puts you in it.
Beautiful. Yeah,
it's kind of like in what was it?
Feel it.
Yeah. Because what's the other one? It's 1883 or whatever. Like the one scene where he's like the one guy's telling her about how, or maybe it was the wife at the beginning when they're in the hotel and she wanted to have warm water and talking about, I hear they're putting in a faucet, where warm water will come right into your tub, and he's like carrying up the warm water and putting in her bath, and you're thinking, it gives you an idea, and that's kind of like what this movie does. They do a lot of that where they give you an idea of like what it was like over there or something, Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, it was really good. And that was old, new, medium. When was that?
It was like 2000. I mean, it's fairly new. It's like 2014.
Yeah.
Something like that. It wasn't too old.
What's her name?
Olsen.
Olsen. Oh, yeah. Olsen twins.
Yep, that's right.
She looks like she looks in,
now. Yeah. Because it was done like between some of those movies, and it was some of the
newer... does too, Hawkeye.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever his name is.
Jeremy Renner.
See, the thing is, I never have to remember because you always know. That's like part of my brain. I don't need to fill. I just So there
entertainment computer.
Yeah. What else did we watch?
Well, okay.
Murder Mystery.
Yeah, we did watch Murder Mystery. Yeah. That's the Adam Sandler, Jennifer Aniston one.
Yeah, and they are coming out with a new one.
Yeah,
soon.
They're coming out with the second one the end of this month. I believe it's the 31st, actually. Murder Mystery 2.
I didn't really like it at the beginning. They were super annoying. I hated everything that was coming out of Jennifer Aniston's mouth.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot handle this movie.
She was like a real dick to him at the beginning.
She was so mean.
But, of course, he was holding things from her, so it was like, okay, well, whatever. They just show the
conflict in their marriage.
It didn't look like they had really, their chemistry was like, they had decent chemistry, but it's like they hated each other.
Yeah, it was like hateful.
It felt like they were forced to do this movie
painful.
almost. But then all of a sudden it started to lighten up when the mood, the story turned and all this other stuff, But
she's talking about puffy faces, man, she's all puffed out. I can't even handle it. I'm like, just age,
Yeah.
Like it's hard for me to watch you not be able to move your face.
All right. Yeah,
and
it starts
I love
to
her.
Go more into like a sleaze stack.
By the end of the movie, you could tell that it had started settling. Or maybe I was just getting used to what her face looks like now. But that bothered me.
It's like smelling the cow patties in Ontario.
Until you don't smell it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be hateful at all. I love everybody. But
sure you are.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
I'm joking.
No, I'm not. I love her, and I think she's great, and I just wish people would stop doing stuff to their face.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of bums you out when you see, someone that you admire or have been looking up to in such a way, and then you're like, dude, what are you doing, man?
But, who cares about my opinion?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're just Catherine.
I'm just Catherine. She'll never hear this, so it doesn't matter.
And then somehow gets back to her like, excuse me, I was listening to your podcast.
Yeah.
What? What? That's funny.
It's got to be tough being a celebrity and aging and all the...
Oh, for sure. Especially being a woman when you're looked at a certain way and everyone follows her hairstyle and then her look.
And her lotion. And
yeah, that's what's kind of strange. She does like a Vino stuff and then it was doing that. Like, wait.
I don't know.
I'm not a girl.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have it.
Anyway, let's move on from this.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about the good part. So then, halfway through the movie, they start to realize that they need each other. There's a murder that happens, and they start to work together.
Yeah.
And he starts to,
They kind of play it like a loose Knives Out. If you've
it
seen
is
that
like
movie,
Knives Out.
They kind of do a little bit of
kinda
that,
like
but they don't have to
Clue.
stay in one spot. They kind of just roam around Italy or wherever they were.
Yeah. And it's like Clue, it's the same, But Adam Sandler's funny.
Yeah,
and then they get to a point where the chemistry is good, and then you're like, okay, I like it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it took most of the movie to get there.
Yeah, and some of it was misleading because it was kind of like, she was kind of fed up with her husband, and then they're on the plane, she sneaks into first class, starts flirting with this rich guy, and then they end up, and you're like, where's this going? Is she going to cheat on him or something? And then how do they stay together? And you're like,
him.
What the hell? I'm not big on like cheating, and crap like that.
I don't like
you know
to
what
watch
I mean?
it either.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, whatever. But
I get mad. I'll look at you. You're like, it's a movie.
I know.
I didn't do anything. I'm like, ooh, you better never.
I know. It's like waking up in the morning like, I had a dream last night.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Hit me now.
Yeah. Hey, man, dreams can sit with you for a hot second.
Yeah, I know. They do. I've had those too where you just kind of like, damn, dude.
Oh.
No, she'd never do that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And I wouldn't.
No, for sure.
And I know you wouldn't either.
Of course. No, yeah.
So that it ended up being cute. And now that they're vibing and it's good, and now they're becoming. I guess the next one is they've gone into becoming detectives.
Yeah, now they have their own private detective agency, and I think they're in like Italy, and one of their friends at the wedding gets kidnapped.
Okay, yeah.
And then and it was like the.
So now I want to see it
because they're
like
in India or whoever the guy was. It was all like, "What's up, dog?"
Yes.
But he was like the Prince of India or whatever it was, of Dubai or whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny.
So I'm looking forward for that one to come out.
Yeah.
And now that they have like a good chemistry together, I hope she hasn't done anything else with her face.
We watched another kind of interesting thing here. Now,
tell me,
Nathaniel.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
how do you explain that?
So Nathaniel, my 17-year-old, he introduced us to what's called analog horror.
Yep.
Okay. So this was kind of interesting, right?
I'm really interested to hear you explain this.
Okay, I'm going to explain this the best I can.
Okay.
Okay, so it's essentially like shorts. Okay, so I mean, it's like a movie that you can watch through YouTube or whatever, and they do them in like, it could be a 4-minute segment. The one we watched, I think it was like 7 minutes at the beginning, then it was like a 51-minute, and then it was like a 4-minute, or maybe it was 4:51:7.
And
but
they're
it was like
released
a 3.
at different times.
Sometimes they're released, yeah. Like they might be, I guess, some could be a week apart. Yeah. And like Nathaniel was saying that this guy released one, like the space was a year.
Yeah.
And I think that was a 51-minute that was a year one. So he had a little bit more content. But he was saying a lot of these they could be like a, 4, but 8 episodes, or sometimes they're larger episodes and then they're just 3, whatever. But so.
Keeps them interested, and they have short attention.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of works with today's generation, right? They can't.
And the surprise factor of when it's going to come out, too.
Right.
Like, oh, when is it going to come out? When is it going to come out? Okay, now we got to watch it, and you get like 1 billion hits.
And not that Nathaniel doesn't like horror movies or movies in general, where he has to sit through an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours. He's done that with the Marvel movies, But it's like these things, the way that they do them. They blend like what might be like found footage, like Blair Witch or something like that, where they're going through the woods or the da-da-da. And then they'll blend it with animation or, something along those lines.
Creepy music.
Like this one was good. Okay, this one was called The Weldon Files. This is the one that we watched. And so in The Weldon Files, it's this 3-episode arc about, I guess, kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's is what they call it. Where it's like, someone is meant to stay the night to do custodial work or stay in the night in like some kids thing where like a Chuck E. Cheese. And overnight the characters come alive and murder them or, do whatever. So like this one is about this company. I can't even remember the name of it.
Something Bunny.
Yeah, it was like Burger Bunny. Or it was supposed to be like a burger establishment.
Because the creepy creatures were bunnies.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy.
You might think like Chuck E. Cheese, but this one was like a bunny thing. So it's like they'll have like some video footage where like, a worker is going there. They're going to spend 3 days fixing up all the old mechanicals of these characters because they're going to open up blah, 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 new store. And so they're going to need to bring these out and put them in a new store. But they need to go to the storage shed, which of course is in the middle of nowhere. Or whatever, and do work
down a
overnight.
Long, dark road.
Right. And do work out there for like 3 days or whatever. And so they'll kind of blend the story with like, how-to videos. Like an orientation video if you're working there. Today we focus on this, and you got to make sure this, that, and the other, but never go into this room because that's where the magic happens. Whatever, all these little things that you're like, huh? And then it'll like...
Spooky.
And then it'll blip like little fragments of like letters or things like that. And they're really meant for you to kind of be interactive and pause because some of these things are really drawn out letters and it's like from the owner. And you slowly start to like in this story, it's these characters going in and one guy goes missing. So another group goes in and one girl fumbles through looking for whatever it is. And I guess she ends up, you find out that she is related to the owners of this, the two owners that were together. One went mysteriously missing, and then like through all these weird how-to videos blipped with suicide notes or something, and found footage, you learn the story of how these brothers that founded this company, one brother was trying to take the children home of the other but drank too much, and he found that out through letters from his wife talking about how much he drank and scared them the night before. Ends up killing the children while he's driving. Doesn't know how to tell his brother, so he like I forget even how he finds out, but the other brother finds out, kills the brother, and stuffs his body and the kids in
the bunnies.
And somehow they're
coming alive.
And it's like,
haunting.
And it is kind of disturbing the way they'll,
I couldn't make it through the 15 minutes.
Because some of it is, and some of it, you're like watching a little bit, and then it goes to like this video game where the daughter finds out about her history, through a video game she's playing, that was an old video game, and then it'll like blip these, and you're just like, dude,
it's like so loud,
ear piercing sometimes, but it was creepy.
I mean, it's supposed to be creepy, and that's the point.
Yeah, and this is analog horror. Yeah, and that was one of them. There's another one which kind of sounded interesting, where Nathaniel was saying it was something, I can't remember what it was called, the back door or something like that.
Oh yeah, I wanted to see that one.
And it was about like, how in video games, sometimes you get to a spot.
Try.
Yeah, where like you go into a spot in a video game and you can it's a blip, it's an error in the game, and it puts you into a black room with nothing in it, But it's like, what if there were things in life where you like walked into a closet and it was one of those, in real life, and you like blip, you were in a dark room that connected you somewhere else or something,
That's cool. I mean, I'm down to
that
try
sounded
it out.
Interesting,
Yeah, but maybe he should have started with that one.
Maybe. Man, because we finished that
the creepy doll stuff. You know me, I don't really like puppets or any of that stuff. Other movie we saw in the theater was Jesus Revolution.
Yes.
So I cried 4 or 5 times during that movie. I was so happy to see that it had, not only was it in the theater, but was sold out in multiple theaters. And people had to
double the expectations of what they thought it would make its opening weekend.
And make a movement.
Still running.
It's a true story, and it's the movement with the hippies in the 70s with Calvary Church in Costa Mesa.
Mm-hmm. It's essentially how it kind of came to be. Yeah.
Right. And, it's like, it really is just a love story for Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And, like, how he can move people, and how if you give your life to him and you claim to love him as your savior, that there's all these awesome things that you get from that. You get joy and peace and love and kindness and patience and all the gifts of the Holy Spirit, right? And so to watch these people being baptized and changed, it's just so moving and gorgeous. Just like, I love it. I'm so happy, and I'm like, let's start a revolution, people. Let's go. I don't know what happened, but let's keep the ball rolling.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was based on a true story, and it's essentially about like Greg Laurie. Greg Laurie, if you don't know who he is, he started Harvest Crusade. He started the Harvest Church out in Riverside. I've actually been to that church. It's a big church. It's a nice church, but it's kind of like his story of how he, kind of not how he made it, but it sort of involves his life in the 70s. And, it was kind of like the hippie movement, and a lot of people who had kind of come to the conclusion that we're not going to find what we're looking for through drugs, maybe it is through the Lord, and then there was apparently this guy, his name was Frisbee. That's kind of interesting. I can't remember his last name now.
I can't either.
But his name was Frisbee, and he's a real person. There's a documentary on him about, I think it's the life and death of a hippie preacher. The Frisbee something story or something.
Yeah, we have to look it up.
We got to look it up. I should have looked it up.
It's okay.
But it's about like Kelsey Grammer, who is Frasier and and whatnot. It is about he is Chuck Smith, who essentially who's gonna have Calvary Chapel, And his daughter's kind of like, dude, you got to, they're talking about the hippies and this, that, and the other. And so she ends up meeting this guy who talks about Jesus and looks like Jesus, and all that.
Yeah.
But he kind of comes to the conclusion that, man, we don't need drugs. We're looking in the wrong places,
We're all looking for the same thing, but we're trying to find it in different ways.
Yeah.
Like his people,
Right. I mean, we're looking for the same thing, but we just look like different people. And, we are essentially looking for the same thing. We're just trying to find it and struggling through it with how we're dealing with it through drugs or whatever. And you're doing it your way, whether it's through, stressing out or drinking coffee or drinking a beer or just yelling and screaming or judging or envious or whatever, whatever it might be. But they come to the same conclusion, when the pastor sits down with this guy after the daughter brings him home to meet him and talk to him, because that's what the pastor says. I love to talk to one of these guys and just get their understanding. So she brings somebody home. And essentially, he gets to understand them, and then they start to build, and, and then they're baptizing people at Pirates Cove, in California.
And it completely changes everyone's life.
Yeah, and then there's also this story of Greg Laurie and how he eventually ends up, the character Frisbee meets him, invites him in. He ends up becoming Chuck Smith and Frisbee's sort of right-hand man. They ask him to lead a group or whatever, this, that, and the other, and it kind of shows their stories grow. But yeah, I mean, it really was just a story of understanding, redemption, and yeah, it was in the 1970s, and it's interesting how it's like, I guess they essentially say that that's kind of where the Jesus freak thing started to happen, and then Christianity wanted to sort of move out of being called Jesus freak, so it, the Christianity sort of movement and, whatnot kind of took a life of its own. I really don't know too much about it. But
what I like is they're raising their hands in the air and they're like worshiping and they're feeling God. I mean, they are experiencing
you would have made a
God.
good hippie.
Oh, I don't know why I wasn't born in the 60s so I could flower in the 70s, okay? I am like, because they're barefoot, rooting their energy and raising their hands to the heavens and experiencing a soulful experience with God.
Right.
Their whole energy system, they understood it. Take your shoes off. Put your hands up in the air and experience God.
Right.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
I just love it. Oh, man, I could watch it again and again and again.
Yeah, it was a great movie. I mean, we highly recommend
good.
that movie.
Yeah.
Kind of start to wind it down here, I guess. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Like in the Jesus Revolution movie, they do talk a little bit. I mean, it does come to a point where certain characters become like envious and jealous and whatnot.
Oh yeah, and he has to like be humbled.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Frisbee's character. I mean, and that's the thing. I'd like to hear more of his story too. But I mean, it does show where some people can kind of take an extreme on it.
Yeah.
Like kind of take it too far.
Or
or
take
things
glory
like
that is supposed to be God's glory, not your ego's glory.
Yeah.
I like that they mentioned that.
Yeah, for sure, exactly.
Because don't get so high on the hog. It's God, not you.
Right, exactly. And there's a lot of that kind of jealousy and envy in the world, and I mean, that's a huge thing that, I mean, that destroys love, you know what I mean?
Oh,
and
it does. It's like the opposite.
And it was kind of interesting because I had a few days off last week, so I was taking the kids to school and whatnot. And I was listening to the Christian station out here. What is it called?
KCBI.
KCBI. It's like 94.
Or Way FM.
Might have been Way. Mm-hmm. Which one's got, well...
KCBI.
I can't.
Doesn't, I mean, either one.
I really don't listen to that much of it in the morning.
I'm
usually,
sure it's KCBI.
It probably was. But they had this story, and they start talking about jealousy and envy, and I thought it was kind of interesting. And the speaker, the pastor who's telling the story, like he had this just cool, not cool, but it was just this detailed story of what jealousy can do to a person,
Yeah.
And I wanted to share it because I just thought it was like, it was great,
Yes.
I mean, it really did give a descriptive understanding of it. But it was like he was saying how, jealousy and envy, they go hand in hand, and they can destroy yourself, and not only yourself, but it can destroy other people around you. It infects you like a virus and can just spread, quickly.
Yes.
And he tells this story of two elderly men that were old, and they were, they needed to be hospitalized, and so their families had put them in this hospital, and they had these medical conditions where one of them needed to be lifted up at least once an hour to let the fluid drain from his lungs so he was able to breathe, and then the other one and other than that, then they had to lay him down, and he would just lay there. The other guy, he was only allowed to just lay there,
he
just
couldn't
lay down.
sit up.
Couldn't sit up, and they didn't
Right.
have. And with their condition, they were not allowed to have a TV. They couldn't have. They didn't have a phone. They didn't have a radio. I mean, they didn't have books. They didn't have anything to entertain them, other than when no one else was around, any of the hospital staff or anything like that. They would talk to each other. And so they got to talking, and they learned that they both were in the war together, and they'd have war stories, and they talk about what they did for a living and explained what they did and how they did it, and the years they spent doing it. They talked about their families, they talked about their wives and their grandchildren and their children, and they just really got to know each other. And so over time, once a day, the one guy that got to sit up for 1 hour a day to let the fluid drain, he sat by a window, and the other guy didn't.
Right.
So he would sit up and look out the window. He was able to kind of look out the window for an hour, and he felt bad for the other guy who just sat there laying in his bed all day, didn't get to look out the window, really raise his head up, nothing. So he decided to describe to him what he was seeing outside. Mm-hmm. And so, once a day he would sit up, and the fluid would drain, and the hospital staff would leave, and he'd start to give him describe what was outside. Like, across the street there was a park, and and in the park, you could hear children laughing and lovers holding hands, and a child almost fell into the river the other day. Looked like he may have been 2 years old. There's softball games going on, and on the horizon, on the outskirts of the park, you could see it lined with trees, all kinds of oak trees, and you could hear the wind rustling through the branches like it was the shore coming in. And then just off in the distance, you can see a perfect view of the skyline, of downtown, and he just day after day would tell all these stories. Mm-hmm. And then over time, the guy that was laying down, just hearing this, he became envious, because he's like, why does he get to sit by the window? He can sit up. At least he can sit up from where I'm at and be able to see something. I mean, I can't even sit up. Why can't I at least be by the window? And at first he felt ashamed, and this guy would still try and tell his stories, but he just started to not listen really. And he felt ashamed for how he was feeling, but then slowly, over the days, it sort of turned into just anger and jealousy, and he became envious of this guy because he wanted to be where he was, and it just festered in his head, and it got to the point where they no longer had a relationship, and he would just, was just impolite and just kind of, just sat there and was just disgruntled. And one night they're laying down, and the old man who was by the window started to cough, and the fluid was filling up in his lungs, and he started to cough. They just laid there in this black room, and this guy just started coughing and coughing to a point where he put his hands over his throat. He couldn't breathe, and the man next to him knew this, but he didn't do anything. He was jealous and envious and pissed off, and he wanted that spot by the window, and he was going to do anything he could to do that. And he just sat there while this guy was gasping for air. Didn't call for help. Nothing. And in the morning, the hospital staff came in, and the man by the window was dead. And so they took him out of the room. Now this man is laying there by himself, and he waited a few days or so until he thought it was okay to ask if he could be moved by the window. Yeah. And so after a few days, he asked, and they moved him by the window. And it would, after the staff had left, he kind of like got up and propped himself up on one arm. And mind you, this was the highlight of his day. Every day, this man who could only lay down, wasn't able to sit up, couldn't look out the window. He looked forward to this every day when that man would tell him this. And now it got to this point with this jealousy and this envy.
And he couldn't enjoy it.
Well, yeah, and he was allowing, he wanted to see him for himself, and he was willing to let this guy die for that. He wanted it now, So they move him by the window after he pretty much let this guy die. and
struggles
he
hard
struggles
to get
hard
up.
to get up on one arm, and he looks out the window, and there's nothing but a building next to him. It's just gray wall, just a gray brick wall. And then he realizes that this man was doing nothing but just trying to give him something to look forward to. He's trying to give him hope and life and joy. And he was, essentially, just trying to do what he could for this man. And this man let his jealousy and envy enrapture him so much. He was willing to essentially let this guy die. Kind of not killed him.
And let his joy die.
Yeah. And now he is left in a room by himself. Looking out the window at nothing but a blank wall with nothing to look forward to. And he's like, that, my friends, is the perfect definition of what jealousy or envy can do to you. And it was like, whoa!
Yeah.
that is a hell of a story. You know what I mean? Because the description that he gives, he was better telling it. But
I mean, that's
it was
pretty
like,
good.
dude.
You're a good storyteller.
Oh, thank you. Stop it.
But because I can see it, and now this is my second time hearing it.
Now that I've heard it for the 100th time.
It makes me think of like different things, Yeah. It's like we need to cherish each other, and God
be thankful for what we have, and other people
has us to be here together. He made Adam and Eve. We're supposed to lean on each other and commune and raise each other up and lift each other up, It feels good.
Yeah, maybe in that
It's
moment,
so
that's what
easy
God
to-
had done. He had brought these two together so that one could
lift
help
them
the other.
up.
And then look what essentially, it's like Cain and Abel.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Essentially, it's just kind of something like that. And it's like,
And you know what?
what we're willing to do to people for our own self-worth
Yeah.
is just, it's crazy to me. I mean,
compassion.
It's gone.
To have compassion.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're called to this. This is not, in case you feel like having it, you should, look into it.
Yeah.
Jesus is calling us to be compassionate with each other.
Exactly.
Because he
has nothing but compassion for us.
He is compassion.
Mm-hmm.
He is love.
The literal definition.
So, but we're so human and ego-filled that we just get in the way and just are selfish and disgusting.
Yeah.
That's so true. Lord help us all. Please save our thank you for saving our souls, because sinners we are.
We need it.
I really enjoyed that Jesus Revolution movie. I feel like it makes me want to help baptize people. If you're looking to get baptized, you can reach out to us. We know at our church you can get baptized, and they have it available, like, I think basically.
I mean, really, you can get I mean, if you wanted to go into your church and ask to be baptized, they'll set it up for you.
Do it.
Do it. Just do it.
So we're going to go out with...
Okay. Well, to end our night here, we're going to go out with a little song here. It's essentially like a Dirty Head song, I guess, which is kind of like a Sublime or a dub reggae kind of band. They do a song called
awesome.
Rage, and it features Travis Barker on drums, who's from Blink-182. He's pretty much one of the best drummers out there.
And married to Kourtney Kardashian, Kourtney Barker.
Yeah, yep. That's right.
That's for like the girls.
That's for the girls out there, that's right. But it features Travis Barker on drums and Amy Interrupter from, or Amy Lee, I think it is, from the Interrupters on vocals. And this is Amelia's, one of her favorite songs right now. What's kind of interesting is, the song's called Rage. And like you'll hear it, it's got like it's got a really good vibe to it.
Yeah.
But like when you listen to the lyrics, it's all about...
It's deep.
Yeah, it's a lot deeper than I thought. And I realized, man, dude, this is exactly what I went through. It's all about, like dad leaving when she was 9, he's supposed to come back.
Rage.
And, the rage, but I'm learning to deal with it. And it was like, whoa. But it really made me, like glad that like my daughter doesn't have to like go through that, Because I did.
Yeah.
And
you're okay, but man.
No, yeah. I mean, like anything else.
And it taught you.
It's
It taught you the dad.
It takes time and all that stuff. When you see your friends with dads and you didn't have one, or father son this and you didn't. You got to have like, your. Someone from church be your dad that weekend. It's kind of tough, but
totally.
Now that I'm older and I figured it all out.
Now you're parenting.
Yeah.
And you can end up parenting yourself.
That's use your skills to pay the bills with your children.
What?
You know what I mean, fool? I'm sorry, what happened?
Wait, what just happened?
Pardon me. Get out of there.
Excuse me.
No, but this is one of her favorite songs. And yeah, I mean, it's got some deep lyrics to it. And it gives you sort of an understanding. It made me go, yeah, dude, I'm glad that I'm on the other side of it. My darn have to deal with that. But it's funny how, like, I don't know, she really gets into some of these songs that seem a lot more intellectual than they should for her age.
Yeah, she's
but they don't
deep,
have language.
though. No, she's deep.
She is. She's like all about Vermeer paintings right now, and and yes, the Babysitters Club. As far as an update, we are almost at the end of the Phantom Caller, and it looks like some of these calls might have been done from the boys that like them.
Sounds like a thing.
But will they invite them to the Halloween Hop? We will find out, ladies and gentlemen, in the next installment of the Babysitters Club.
Thank you.
And then we're on to The Trouble with Daisy. That's the next one. But yes, anyway, this song is called Rage, and it's by the Dirty Heads with Travis Barker and Amy Interrupter. Here you guys go. You guys have a good week, everyone. We are Drew.
And Kat.
And this is Let's Party Prayer and Punk Rock.
This is an ESPN.
And also, Otani is ready with a pair of 3-run home runs for Japan. So I guess he's ready to go for the Angels.
All right.
Although he's playing in the Japan Classic. I'm glad they let me know that. Because
right
I was
in the middle.
just wondering, yes, in the middle, right now as we leave the show. You know what? Hold on, everyone. What's Shohei Otani doing right now? So I'm thank you, ESPN. We love you. So on to the song. Unless
anybody else want to talk to us?
Anyone else? All right, guys. You guys have a great night.
I'm feeling rage.
I'm feeling rage. Love you guys. Don't do drugs.
I still got rage inside since I've been 8 or 9. My dad, he went to the store and didn't come back no more. I still got rage, but that's okay. I'm doing my best and get away. While beer bottles busted, I'm rushing to find the door. Feel solid on the outside, but you're boiling at your core. Greater suffering becomes such things as joy, and happiness is fleeting while you're bleeding on the floor. I take a beating, smile with a greeting. Life is a meaning, or quite misleading. Pipe what I'm dreaming, flight to the ceiling more. Think I need a new body, cause I bodied all these demons, but it took its toll, and I just roll and smile out while I'm screaming. I still got rage inside since I've been 8 or 9. My daddy went to the store and didn't come back no more. I still got rage, but that's okay. I'm doing my best and get away.
Cause lately I've been double dipping doses. The only thing that seems to help with these emotions. Too many scars got me feeling like I'm broken. Staring at the world singing, damn, you must be joking.